cheese. Is there?
Good, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Katunga ke ko chegim ke gum da. Ngeke ko na.
Good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And we will begin our class by saying the prayers on the page number 10. English one time, and I will let you the number of the English recitations. And so you have the two books. The first we will use the recitation book, and then we will use the class book. The Geshe-la and the Tenzin translator will let you know the number where they are, and you have small cushions. This is for the book. You can keep the book for the small cushions.
로그 남도 상노 주벌쇼 이당 그르라나 만다나 야미
In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And by the merit created in this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings avoid equanimity, feel bias, attachment, and anger. This ground, mounted with perfume, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon, I visualize this Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the pure land. Idam Guru Rana Manda.
아니 정말 쇼크 다시들이시요. 아니 무스그 미 사와 비죽하신들 나마도 무스그 참 다시들이요.
My warm greetings or good morning to you all. Thank you very much for joining me. I would like particularly welcome and thank you for those new faces. And it's so good to have you here and welcome.
아니 땅아주 때랑 뭐좀 지금 곰 가지고 곰 그래서 곰세한테 조고는 다 샘라 곰시 때문에 일지 샘 정보 승안받대 봐 또르지네 샘 정보 쇼라 기라가 답시 지러와 진짜다 답고도 곰저서 tellat네 당고 디돈데 곰 샘안받대 강에 봐 하고 때네 샘 정보도 간르지 냠lên 주고 좀 봐 하고 때네 티와지 삼바지 근데 рем베티 돈데 삼노 양지 단 방보 하고 있던데 양지 삼노 단 셈나 요거 샤송나 샤류다랑 셈나 마지바지 곰바이나 따때 곰진에 셈들은 비 지치 당네 야긴로지 용거 된사따때 뭐참에 맞소제나 소수랑 길라 아질한지 요데월 시르시사 니와로데 아주 삼말
Okay. So as usual, we're going to practice meditation or begin our today's discussion with meditation. As I said before, so meditation, and in a sense, is a form of familiarity or acquaintance, or get used to. Something that become so familiar with, or become the accustomed, and or become very something is very natural and habitually sort of it's taking its own form or running and it's on course because of the familiarity or because of the acquaintance. So here, meditation is acquaintance or familiarity, but then we have to ask the question, what do you get used to, or do you get familiar with, or acquainted about? So the answer is we are practicing meditation. We are practicing meditation and we try to get used to it, something, or familiar with something. That is the excellent supply and unsurpassed and pristine quality, or the spiritual, most excellent and spiritual qualities. So in the simple term, you can say it's a good heart or good mind, or good quality of the mind. Why we need to good meditate on or get used to, familiar with, or accustomed to the good quality of the mind. That is because our understanding is that we suffer due to the all kinds of misdeeds and all kinds of the negative qualities. And those negative qualities are manifested or due to the negativities of the mind or negative qualities of the mind. So therefore, our mission or our task, our goal is by familiar with, get used to content with the excellent, the supreme and pristine good qualities of mind to destroy or to remove all the negative qualities of the mind or negativities of the mind. So to do that, and then we live with all the good qualities, excellent qualities, right? And then the wisdoms and the spiritual spiritually enlightened qualities. So to achieve this, complete this mission, to achieve our goal, we have to know that we must take a formal action to achieve this goal. So the way to achieve our goal is we first will have to engage in the process of hearing, meaning to study and collecting the information, knowledge, and then we put it and those knowledge and information into the serious the process of examination, here technically called a contemplation. And then after we completed the process of contemplation or the examination about the information or the knowledge, here is Buddha Dharma, the knowledge about Buddha Dharma, and then we gain the, so once we gain the certainty, reach the point that we know what is for sure, and or gain the strong conviction, then we can bring that to very certainty of the knowledge into the formal actual meditation. That is again just to get it ourselves repeatedly and get used to it, acquainted to it, and or to become the master of that very quality or the spiritual enlightenment quality of the good mind. So to do that, again, we have to thinking, we have to contemplating, we have to examine, and we have to work on our mind. So the way to do that, specifically speaking, that is, so once you recognize, identify the good quality of the mind, and you get used to it, and then, so in this context here, so you need to apply that very the sublime, spiritual, excellent quality of your own mind. Let it appear, or let it arise, or let it vividly become something vividly and to yourself in your mind, and then you need to maintain on that state of familiarity, and that yourself be with that very sublime, pristine, and enlightened spiritual quality of mind, and so stay in that state of the enlightened mind, an excellent quality of the mind as long as you can. So this way, through this way, we can eventually let all those enlightened qualities, spiritual wisdoms, knowledge, and will flow and naturally become let it naturally floating and in our the continuity of our the streams of our own consciousness.
Patrick Mona Romatoni, Gomjago, Romatoni, Gomjare, Taritoni. Two million Rotangaron, so Chitana, Damondigan, Satishaga. Said the Chiton Gongunala, Lila Tenegomjama, Long Latin Gomjama, some Latin, some Tessa Mandawayo, Tenongaron, Chiton and Jitan Roma, Tonos, Jitan Roma, Yosam Namji Shinkazona, Jinromi Kishatanzi, Kokorchik, the Jinam Korchik, Tigan La Jinroma, and Rongarina, Ronjan, and Rakano, the Yoachi, some tongues. And the Roma machine can, there was machine in it, all Kokorchik, some Luton, all Kokortin on the Jinromagic, the some tongues. What the Only on directors on the Tele Ozertini, as a long Kangi Chapatella, long 의등 아주 같은 땅다로 파트 땅다로 때 롱근나라 롱땅냠 때는 지전로미 신럽도 소소 담지 의등기 용족 샘라파 지전로미 신기람는 내매 체랑 왔던 안에 지금 의체동에서 뒤탐지 그 링알라서 용족 시도 송 섬지 링학 사이드 거죠.
So let's begin our meditation. And for those of you who already have been here before, and then you know the object of our meditation is Aryantara. So then, of course, like you know what I have talked have comments on about the procedures or the process of the meditation. Just go ahead and move on and to apply and or adopt the technique that we have learned. Okay. So our purpose again is here to meditate on the Aryantara and by reciting and her heart mantra, and primarily is generally is aimed to free all sentient beings from all kinds of sufferings, in particular, and due to the matter of fact, like the ongoing the pandemic, the COVID-19. So while you're reciting the mantra of Aryantara or meditate on and Aryantara as the sacred appearance, and then think about that keep those the sufferings of all beings in general and in particular, and then so then you reciting and the mantra and meditate on sacred appearance, the sacred the holy body. So those of you, you know that you have learned how to do it, then I don't need to repeat to you. But for those, you have no idea what the Aryantara look like or the Torah looks like, and you can, it's up to you. And so you can, if you prefer, and to meditate on the Torah appear in the green in color, and then meditate on the green Torah. If you prefer an Aryantara in a white in color, that's also fine. So whichever the way or the color and you prefer, you can make a decision on, and then focus on that very vivid appearance of sacred appearance or images of the Aryantara, and in your own mind. And generally, so meditation can be focused on the object of meditation can be something is bodily, it can be a tangible, some kind of tangible sort of internalized tangible body, and that's you can use as the object of meditation, or you also can meditate, practice meditation, and through your on prana. Prana here is, you can say, breath or wind, right? And breath in, breath out, which is basically is a form of breath exercise. And that also can be used as the object of meditation. And then thirdly, you also can use your own mind or consciousness and as the object of your meditation. So whichever the way, the choice regarding Aryantara, and so you can decide which in which color and you would love to have this sort of a personal connections in your meditation, form or establish the personal connections with Aryantara in your meditation. or meditative visualization. And here is for those of you who are new. Okay, if you're new to this tradition and haven't been here before, you have no idea what you're supposed to do. Then my recommendation is so in your mind, okay, internally, you visualize it as sort of some kind of a light, and so in such a circle, okay, in the shape like a round in shape, and a light inside the light, or something is illuminating. Okay, so then imagine or visualize the Aryantara, the separate mother of wisdom, and Buddha of wisdom, who is residing inside of that very round-shaped circle. The light is circle, and so now you are facing and towards that very sacred the circle of the light, and then you're making this personal connections or personal communication with the Aryantara, and then you recite in the mantra yourself while you are visualizing the light itself. And so here, when you breathe in, if you choose to breathe in and breathe out, and think about so the breathe in the sufferings of all others, breathe out, then think about all the wonderful and spiritual, excellent, enlightened qualities of you, or you have ever accumulated, the Buddha and the Bodhisattvas, and now through the exhalation of your own breath, and then now is to stretch out or reach out to all sentient beings out there, and then by the power of that very spiritual quality, all beings was relieved or freed from the sufferings that they are experiencing.
Along the Kong, Ud Sami Lengor, Ud Lengi took a Noladi, Zidum Shilov the Nolaji, and the Chilato did nothing dollars for Shiloto song to something any Taritan Sira, take kind.
So those of you imagine the light, okay, and then think about visualizing the Aryantara is inside of the very light in the shape of a round or circle, and then I think that while you are reciting Aryantara's mantra, and then the light is radiating or illuminating and sort of out, and then the light wherever it goes, and then reaches and touches all sentient beings, and whereby the sufferings of all beings are relieved, or they are free from this the suffering form of suffering that they experiencing. And what are the
yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. No, summit the woman.
So now let's we all practice it where we have this learned together.
Recitations mantra is on page number 74. We'll say one time the recitations of the mantra, first one time, and then we'll recite the mantra on page number 74.
Da re de re so ha da re re so ha da re de re so ha da re de re so da re de re so da re de re so da re de re de sana ko bar so sim na ba jin ba ni de na le tar de jin ro ye nan ma le ad shong wa me bar so man ta dang da ba dang song de jo de bar ro kan ro san bo la so ba ni je sim dang da yer ju oye ta ka tsang a zo de inchare nyamba me ba namba sim se te zara nam nyamba me ba nam sum gom shiwan de lama la na taki manyam ba tang thapa la wayul manyam ba tang lo la chwa manyam ba lama la taki me na yondin ki wi go me wi shir tang hawa la bayul nyam na chitam tak pi kokup me wi shir tang tongshi la nye tong la jorwa thamchil wame pi shir rosi lo jong wa la chwa nyam na shangchi ki sem ki yondin thong wi ta pa tang ti chang win dam ba so me pi kha cham mai kha chi cham ma to nyang ni donil me pa nam te kyo no te tak li kyo no o de ji song sa ba
Let's go to your translation, copy 101. So let's see, probably is more effective. Okay. So at the last, at the end of the page says, don't let the three factors weaken. This refer to not letting your faith in and respect for your spiritual masters diminishing, not letting your attention to ethical training waver, and not letting your joy in mind training lessen. There is no way for you to develop knowledge, and if your concern for ethical training decreases for your ethical to be pure. For all downfalls and misdeeds come about through recklessness. If your training declines, you will lack the faith that would enable you to appreciate the qualities of the awakening mind and the aspiration and so forth that are its result. The drawback of this is that lacking of a heartfelt interest in the doctrine, you will pay it only lip service.
어때 단디 가정 안에 당복 가와 남 왔음 지송 가와 남 왔음 무대 아니 가르나 아니 다 가시기 제도 지성도 가시기 경고 따라 지역도 말때나 당보 나로 주다데 리지니 정부의 김천로다 당보 아주 지 등을 메어줘 대기 동 토와던데 다 탈트나 땡기 대기 동 안에 토와던데 뭐 일찍히 가처와 된사다 아니 오저 능의 용사대 가와네 뇨모래 뇨모세대 가르 마르비앙 거 차당지 다 다도 동 너무 동 텐데 또 정말 뛰어온 거 중앙에서 뇨모 때 떨라 녀보를 고땡 때나 녀보 때문에 좀 메어줘 답는 요자 녀보 땡가와래 녀보 띠 녀보도 semna 진때는 아주 미기마 잔주배 깔리 가고래 잠바이나야 녀보 때 하고에나 녀보도 냠는 진이 이기 뇨모도 메어줘 똑버시 받대 하정 깔리 가고래 타므라네 때 년부 때지 동교도 배깔고 타머는 때깔때 아니 뭐몽이 선배 년무 담비고네 아니 동비츠 바빠 제비 아주 바초제 때깔고 때자 땡아로 가와 남바스므레 이제 어떻게 하고 다 땡아로 좀 봐이나 다다 레다요 다 남바주 또 이메시다네
So before we explain what we just read, let me remind
이메시다네
So before we explain what we just read, let me remind you, and I believe most of you remember in a previous class we talked about the three what do you call it the three the three difficulties. Okay. So the three principal the causes or the three difficulties, and the three difficulties essentially for your quick reminder, the train in the three difficulties. Okay, so the train in the three difficulties is first of all, it is very difficult for us to remember the remedies, right? Remedies for the disturbing emotions. And so first of all, we have to know that we are here to practice or undertaking such a spiritual conversation, or be part of the such a spiritual conversation, or engaging the practices according to the mind training tradition. And our purpose is two, right? And the temporarily or immediate purpose and the long-term purpose, or the temporary purpose and the ultimate purpose. So temporarily, we know that we wanted to, we realize that we have we have problems, right? Our life it has some kind of the difficulties. Technically, you can say the stress or suffering, and so we are dealing with the suffering, and there are suffering in our life. There are sufferings, and what are the sufferings? Essentially, we know there are three forms of the sufferings, right? And when you look at the causes and of the suffering, you know, so our suffering is related to directly or indirectly related to the attachment or desire, and our sufferings again directly or indirectly related to the aversion, and our sufferings directly, indirectly is related to the associated with the ignorance. So for this kind of purpose, temporary purpose, such as like we wish to remove, free ourselves from the suffering by removing the causes of suffering, and then we needed to undertake in this kind of training, right? We needed to practice what we have learned according to the mind training tradition. And then our ultimate goal, the long-term goal is to develop the bodhicitta, the mind of awakening mind, and then attain the Buddhahood for the benefits of all sentient beings, right? So whichever the case, so we got a problem and we want to fix it. That is clear, right? So, but when we try to achieve our both the goals, and then we realized that there are three main challenges or three difficulties. The first one, just we talked about it. It is harder to remember the remedies for the disturbing emotions. So we believe that disturbing emotions is fundamentally is the cause of direct causes of all kinds of the sufferings, right? And so therefore, while we were trying to fix it, free ourselves from the suffering and causes suffering. And the very first difficulties that we have to deal with is the remembering the remedies, right? And even if we can't remember, right, what is the remedies, what is the appropriate remedy? And by the way, we have to know that in Buddhism, each specific suffering and cause of suffering always has a remedy, always has some kind of antidote, so to help us to overcome it. So therefore, so let's say, suppose you have your problem to remember the remedy is not that severe, or basically it's not a big deal. But then you might have the second, being challenged by second difficulties. That is to so what it here says is you have difficult to oppose the all kinds of occurrence of the disturbing emotions, right? You knew it is wrong. You knew it is going to cause you suffering, but you just have a difficulty to oppose that very causes suffering, so therefore the second difficulty is difficult to oppose them, do something right on the spot, right, and to overcome then the challenges of disturbing emotions. Let's say you are okay with the second difficulties, but you probably have to deal with the last difficulties. That is very difficult to do pursuing, right, and follow through the practice, right? To cut it, in other words, here technically it is difficult to cut their continuity, meaning that so you remember the remedy, and so you have a way to do something and cope with the arisings or the occurrence of the disturbing emotions right on the spot. But your difficulty is difficult to cut their continuity. Working on that. So when I look at these three difficulties in my own situation, and I think what the text says about the three challenges, they are so true. So at least personally, I feel they are very relevant, and they tell the whole truth about my own conditions. So I don't know what how well you are when and if you examine your own situations.
다 디오텔라 예수 넘버 섬지네 섬치신도가 예수 넘버 섬데니 시다 문로 치드버셔발 창고 이가르나 소소랑니라 창고 안에 리프스 소파당 텔라 안에지 다파당 셰럽당 존디라 소페니 낭라 삼로프스 소파 용기지 요나 어떤 아랑조 창고 낭 창고들이 아랑조로 창고들 다 실리 창고 가르즈나 시견의 기회신인 소유 되니 람톰비 기회신이 찬이 당 담바 시시연단 요바 탑 냥지기 끈이 캡이 된지 기신이 자고 토고 요래 뒤지 스좀 받다 뜻이당 남았던 때라네 된토 가지고 요래지 때 니와들 시견 때당 냠때니 타니 스마롱위 소소 독이 때 루트 가지고 땡긴 된토 가지고 그랬어요. 소소라나 나 곰자에나 치드와나 소소라나 찾긴 거고라. 소소 미초고 저들라 저거 어때 타니 스마롱 하정 다 요만 하정 요만 봐. 타니 스마롱 가지고 뜻은 상고래 어떻게 거래 이소도 당원들 곰자와라 창고 가지고 뜻은 그러지 온루
So yes, so let's say that we are now we know what are the three difficulties, and right so now we have a knowledge about and what they are and know how to deal with it. So next, what we have to learn is that when you approach or began to undertaking the mind training practice, you also need to be aware of that you need to make effort to create the condition, the appropriate conditions for positive, supportive conditions. Those conditions are twofold. One is the external condition, another is internal conditions. So first of all, you need to create the external condition to ensure that your mind training practice will be successful. So the number one external condition is that you must find the right spiritual master, a spiritual guidance, technique, specifically the master who try to show you, to guide you, to teach you how to engage in the mind training practice, right? And then you need to also externally not just find the spiritual master, and you must ensure by all kinds of means let him and guide you and taking care of you and to continue to teach you and to be your guidance, right? The path of enlightenment, you must be free from the two extremes, the extremes of in poverty or asceticism. Also, you must avoid your lifestyle not to be indulgent, right? So this means that if you want to practice meditation, so you have to have a form of income, right, and or have the conditions, appropriate condition, which can support you, right, and to ensure you got appropriate shelter, right, which is appropriately support you. You got appropriate clothing and to protect you, and the food. So those are the basic supplies is necessary. So you needed to make sure, and there are you have a sufficient those external conditions to be. You need to create and you need to maintain, and because they are necessary. And then internally, the conditions that you need to create is you have to develop a form of a strong faith, right? And the faith here is a strong aspiration to attend the enlightened qualities yourself, right? And then you need to make the effort and to perfect and the path that you are pursuing, and then you need the appropriate the knowledge or and to complete and your practice. So once those three conditions are present, internally three, externally three, and then you will be in the right position and to engage in the mind training practice.
Akongadi nam bichen sebo dishti pingi sa bari bari nama chaso di kaun for what is big sonda
La.
nam bichen sebo wa je deba je dumba je chikono
Nung kiansu zonji.
Oh, so yeah.
To sonji.
Yeah. So yes, the right, the faith, right, the appropriate faith, and the aspiration, and meaning intent to attend the enlightenment, and then the third is the joyful perseverance. So those are the internal three qualities.
Tanya babe badna basum tada loksa yutre. Ne lama la tapa manyam gores. Da lama la tapa manyam go gores so ne jidda soso lama se te soso 대용을 소텔라지 연된 당량지와 분수 소바도 예면 소수 당고 탁시당 걸 탁시 당하는 오이 네츠그 소수가 대당 원이다네 콜라 대낭알라지 연된데 톡거래 삼비 삼로 종나 아니 대라 답아 당위 답아 당 이치 답아 당 원토이 답아 르비 종을 당위 답아 세다 공원이 전에 근데 야고 차당 답아지래 삼비 삼로티 디강니 대라 가와께 될 당위 답아 당위 답아 아니 이치 때문에 좀 이치 답아 세대 그다 카운터 카운소나 그거다 비당 남바좀 람 lok바지 체크 말해 람 양당지 체크에 삼비 이치 정마도 고요 뒤전에 아니 이치 정마 디강네 아니 가르즈 포기잖아 땅원 뭐때 원토기 원버토비 답아세 코랑라 요비 연던데 이 콜라 강 땡진이 깔이 잡니 가르치는 잠덕신이 토비 탈뜨고 먹일 때 마랑라 콩 토비 연던데 말라 토고요 때자다 원버토비 답아세 원버토비 답아세데 디기기 연던데 땅 소소론이라 토나선비 뜻창고 땡데지 인자다 답아 땡데지 거래 뜻당 남당 안에 또 냠냠고 말해 진짜 소소 탐자 타로당 탐치고 뭐 러버싱이지나 게나 답아도 냠냠고 말해 그럼 답아도 냠소소 옹버토비 답아메 촌나 남한테는 덤바 텔 용고만 덤바 소가 용고 말 뜻다 뜻이거리라 또는 사활 뜻 송도나 뜻니다마 이와치고
So further here, what we need to know is according to the text, and it is absolutely crucial for us to remember that we need to develop a faith, a pure faith, a strong faith. Once we develop it, and we have to ensure by all means, and now that the faith has been weakened or decline, but to increasing. Why this is so? Why the faith in the spiritual master or teacher and spiritual guidance is so critical? That is because we have to have someone who guide us, right? And since our conditions are, it's by our, we can't rely on ourselves, and we need experts and someone who is perfect and or know much and much better than ourselves. So therefore, we need to find a teacher. So this is kind of obvious, right? But to find a teacher, prior to find or decide who you're going to take as your teacher, right? And you must carefully examine that person and that person's let's say who he is or who she is and how well and she or he knows about the Dharma practice, right? Because after all, he or she must, in terms of the Dharma knowledge, and he or she has to surpass and know much more and better than you do. And in terms of the technically speaking, and the skills and the all kinds of knowledge, experiences, and he or she must also is very rich and very well and established or accomplished. So and once and then he or she is very kind, right? And then ethically he or she behavior, the moral practice of behavior is pure, is authentic, is great. So yes, so you have to examine find a master and before decide you have to get a master, but before you get a master, you must examine the qualifications of the master, right? And once you through the careful exam, you find a master who is much knowledgeable than you, and whose moral ethical practice is pure, and who is kind, and who is very rich in all kinds of fields of knowledge and experiences, and especially the Dharma practice. And then so then you can decide to ask or become the student or disciple of that particular individual, and then take him or her as your master. After you take him or her, the individual as your master, and then you must remain the strong faith in him or her teacher,
It's 11 o'clock.
your teacher. Why this is so important is because if you have no faith, and then you would not properly get what you wanted to achieve at the beginning. So at the beginning, when you want to find a teacher, you were clear that you want to develop a set of knowledge or some form of skill, and that you feel you're lacking, right? Or you're not good with it, right? Or you feel you find that you need support, right? Once you find that the person who has such qualities, skills, and the knowledge which can support you, help you to achieve your goal, then you must keep the relationship with your spiritual master with a pure faith. And here, when we talk about the faith, we remember that there's three faiths. Okay, there are three faiths, three different forms of faith. First, the faith is the faith with the delightedness, right? Or faith, the pure faith. And the pure faith is that based on your recognition of his or her spiritual qualification and or the spiritual knowledge and moral ethical practice and the advanced experiences and so on and so forth. So you have to have this delight of the pure intention and wish that you feel delighted about. You find such a one and has endured with such quality, and so be happy about it and have this sense of delightedness. And then the second is the faith of trust, or faith of believing. So here, faith of trust or believing, meaning that once you confirmed, you gain the conviction, right? You gain the conviction about his or her qualification, and then you must have a strong faith or believe that quality would help you. That quality is what you wanted, and that's what you are lacking for, right? And you need it. And then then you need to develop or have the third faith, or a third form of faith. That is the faith of aspiration. Faith of aspiration is that so you have to keep the thinking that the very purpose of you to find and decided that individual is your spiritual master is not because he or she is famous and or just nice or kind of friendly person, but rather the very purpose for you to find and decide him or her to be your teacher is because you want to perfect or gain or obtain and the knowledge, the skill, the experience, the advanced, the enlightened qualities, whatever he or she has accomplished, you wanted to get exactly what your teacher has accomplished or is achieved. So that is your goal. So you have to keep that. That is your goal. That is the purpose. So therefore, you have to have the third. Achieve this goal and maintain this goal by having the third faith to your master. That is the faith of aspiration, meaning that you want to be the person just like your master, right? So anyway, the essence of the faith basically is want to achieve the spiritual qualifications that your teacher has accomplished. and because you wanted yourself to become him or her, or as knowledgeable, as skillful, as advanced, as kind, and morally as pure as him or her. So you have to remember that. And so this, yes, once you develop it, and this, you must keep it and not let it decline or get weakened. Because see, this here is the thing. The very reality tells us if we have no teacher, we get nowhere. But if you have a teacher, if we do not maintain the good relationship through the faith, then once your faith is weakened or gone, then you will not motivated. You will have no aspiration, no motivation, and to obtain the spiritual qualities or the spiritual knowledge and the wisdoms that your teacher has accomplished.
다 니와데 사발라 버글 많이 봐지. 사바세 소소랑니가 네다 강나 냠는지 오르 냠는지 사텔라 듣지 초 듣지 무소세 참 직등 감내나 좀 지고 좀 될래 많이 봐지네. 때 양지 semna 잠바지 와일 세들 semna 잠바지 잠비 돈데 파 라렌로 소소강 초초 전에 로아들라 와요 파스그로. 어때인자다 타발라 버글 많이 봐지네. 기타 빠메 봐지나 다 삼로나 간장만 접했잖아. 지가 삼소치가 몇죠. 간장만 듣지나 안행아도 첨가 욕다 종망죠. 저당 강을 종사가 욕다 종사가 싸워 섬시고. 당보 때에 마시왔더랬어. 당아도 야kop지 강서 싸워들려면 때 롱바티 첨가를 뜻 하고고요. 뜻나제 남바상지 지금 타와당 탐지 공포로시바 람가를 첨가를 송고도. 강지 좀 첨다 하고 그래서 또 시와는 니와 정도 첨다 하마구나 때 등을 종사 니와 정도 지 당보다 오가 매반의 동안 중이고 빠가 매봤을 때 어떤 간장 먼저 샘나 앞에 때나 초라로 매왔지 간장 먼저 지된 그때라 오가 매봤을 거다 다 장통화 당간도 때 진짜 정말 아니 오가 매기 간도 손랑 아주 요라 먹어서 그때 잠바텐트 거 선바텔라네 요모모는 동안 중 공司 단 요모는 차당원도 결혼을서 내려진 게 요라망가서 그래서 뜻은 못해 디능이 다다데 빠메 봐서 오가 요바 많이 봐서 오가 요바서 디땅나 바탐지 땅도 하고 있던데 소소 개인이 강 중화데 소소 합이 저 슬라와데 샘능아 마질와 진이 양정의 잠바지 잠비던데 양스 냠슬랑즈 냠렌즈도 저 소소 냠용라 자니 소소 gelapa 기에도 그제때 당보 니와드레스
Yeah. So next, what we needed to know as part of this mind training practice is, and that is essentially is about be conscientious. So we needed to be conscientious or be aware of. So make sure we are to avoid all the given circumstances. To try to avoid the recklessness. Okay, not to be reckless, but rather to be very conscientious and very careful and very diligent. So therefore, this is very important. The practice, right? Not to be aware of and mindful and conscientious about the precepts, right? Or the object of the learning, the object of the practice, or the contents of the practice, or the contents of the learning. And so we must, from time to time, always remember what is the contents of the practice, what the object of our practice, right? So this requires us to be super aware of, or technically you can call is conscientious. We have to be always consciously very clear, be aware of what we are doing, what we're supposed to do, how we're doing, and then we must examine our state of the mental state of a being from time to time. And this is, of course, we are talking about the Buddha Dharma and the practice of Buddhism, right? Mind training and the tradition, the mind training in according to Buddhist tradition. But if you take it, is the importance of the conscientious or not to be reckless, right? Apply this quality of mindfulness, be mindful, careful, diligent, aware of, be conscientious in the worldly context. In your earthly life, we know that people who commit the crime or broke the law, and if you examine why that particular individual who broke the law, right, or committed the crime, one of the obvious reasons is because he or she forgot the law and the consequences, right? And this reminds me about in Buddhism. So when you examine the causes of trouble, causes any form of problems, and in Buddhism, basically it says any trouble is related to the three different due to the three different failures, right? And the first failure is you fail to understand, right? You fail to know or be aware of. You have no idea what's going on. For example, you entered into or you landed in a new territory, a new country, a new nation, right? And you probably will broke the law, and because you don't know what's the custom, what's the law, the rules of that particular nation or the country. So see, the first cause of the trouble is unknown, right? Unknown, and it's a form of ignorance. And the second cause of the trouble and is being reckless or unconscious or has no recollection or not did not pay attention, right? So fail to pay attention, be the reckless is the second cause of any form of trouble, right? We're talking about in the context of you enter the new nation or new country, right? So when we talk about the reckless, right, or unconscious, not aware of, which means that we have no sense, we feel nothing, but we're doing it, but we have no sense and no feel and no feelings about our own action, behavior, and we have no sense and no feelings about its possible outcome. So that when you experience this kind of behavior, when you experience yourself, find yourself in such an experience, in such a situation, and then that means so you are in the state of non-conscious or unconscious, and you're not being conscientious. You are doing something recklessly. And then third cause of the trouble is as due to the proliferation of the development, meaning that now you are experiencing the strong and the various disturbing emotions, right? So you have where too much and the afflictive emotions or disturbing emotions are occurring and it's taking place. So because of the afflictive emotion and it's a great variations, and so you fail to broken the law. You fail to comply with the law, and that's why you got into the trouble. So Yes, so therefore, our analysis here is clear. The way to ensure our success in the training of the mind practice, we must do from time to time remember the object of our training and or our practice, or the contents of the package of the training, and that we have learned. And so the way to sustain and to be successful is a very important technique is to be conscientious and or be mindful. And so be mindful again, and or be conscientious, and or not be reckless. Is that you have to from time to time remember repeatedly, right? All of a sudden you check your state of being, see where you are, what you're doing, right? You must remember that. Then after a while again, and so all of a sudden you examine your physical being and your mental state of being, and see how well you are doing and where you are, what your state of being. So this repeated recollection or remembering of one's own state of being is the actual contents of the conscientious or the mindfulness.
다 선바데 아니 로중라 쪼아 많이 봐지 쪼아 셈낭나 아니 샤와강다 강다 텔라 아니 쪼아요나 텔라 강을 갈와요 말 아니 가서 셈난 노바 메서 내가 지나 베치수 차까지나 베 게랑보 통거 소수 셈나 쪼아요 정말 치수 망보 거래나 뒤수 통통도 통고 말 때나 쪼아 세트까지 볼 때는 셈나 쪼아 말하고 그래 다 당보 개인직 때네티 아니 도망보 시고 때 시알라 타박가네 소수 당위 타박 알하고 원버토비 타박 쪼고네 시에지 시위 돈데 디당나 바 잠바 마님바 지니 냠슬랑네 소수 까티나 장치니 장위 돈데다 셈나 까티나 쪼아 말하죠 디온데 돈데 요티요 세드 어트리지나네 마트리 미티야 이공팔로레 어떻지 그 도동도 트스테랑 건들다 되지.
So the last advice or the technique and the teachings we need to pay close attention is about not let yourself lose the interest or the sense of the delightness, right? And the sense of something that inspires you and or keep you to make effort, right? That very joy or sense of meaning and this a sense of value, whichever motivates you, give you a strength, give you or inspires you, and that is very, very important. So therefore, and as a practitioners of mind training, teachers of mind training, we must establish that a strong sense of joy and the sense of meaning and the sense of the inspirational power, and then maintain, right, and to increasing and to enhance that very sense of joy, sense of meaning, and sense of value. It is obvious, again, we all know that if you have find something very interesting and nice and good and has a great meaning, and then it doesn't matter how long you need to do, right, and or the time you put in, you find this time rather very short, or it's just short moments, a long many hours gone, but for you it's as if it just kind of you got a very short period moment, and was in that process, right? Why long hour makes you feel so short? And that's it, because joy, because you find this is really very something there was inspiring and it keeps you engaged and make you feel very delighted. vice versa, if you have no such joy and find the meaning of purpose and you don't see the value, and then even you just put a very few sort of a short moment, but experientially, and you might find that I feel that it has been very long. So therefore, it is very, very important for us to remember the essence of today's teaching. And that is, first of all, we need to find a teacher, right? And the teacher has all the qualifications that is necessary to guide you, to lead you. Once you find a teacher, and you must, presuming him or her, ask him to teach him or her to teach you the knowledge, skill, the advanced experiences, and the knowledges, right? And to train you to become and a person like him or her. And so in order to do that, you must always remember, right? And by being conscientious about the forms of or sets of the training, the object of the learning, and then stick on, right? And unto that very the training itself, and try to push through or follow through. So, and then yes, when you follow through and try through, you know that one thing that supports you to do so is that you have to have the faith in what you have learned. So that is all for today.
Oh yeah. 다 까망아 정말도 못 돼. 아주 좋아지네요나. 지금 단어 듣는 거도 연주다 수습 제가 좋아라. 지이가 좋아서 진짜 좋아하는 거.
Yeah. So we have about 5 minutes, and I would like to take a few questions if you have one. And also, as a reminder, we have a class at 12.
Oh yeah, 다 비교 좋아 요즘 말라. 다음에는 아니 스티시 maybe something.
Thank you, Geshe Lakunga, Tempa, and Tenzin. If you would like to make a donation to the temple, it would be greatly appreciated by the monks and the monastery, and you may do that by calling 812-336-6807, or you can email the center at tmbcc.kcl.gmail.com, or at gmail.com, I'm sorry. Check my list here. Anyone in the temple who would like to make a donation, I'm going to pass around the begging bowl, and you can make a donation. And if you cannot do that, you can just say a prayer into the bowl. Thank you. And then at 12, there's going to be another teaching by Geshe Gyatso, and it will be on Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. And I believe there's some water and light snacks out in the hallway. And if anyone would like a tour, Mylan would be happy to give you one. All right, thank you. Yeah, there's water outside, right outside the door. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll say the closing prayers on page number 80.
Tseragondo Jabe Anje Tsewe Jizonde Tamderemba Unsalanje Nyene Lobe Yana Nyeche Range Jeshen Dobe Lanje Shurda Zeve Nawe Tage Dove Yeje Mamba Soshe Yahweh Damba Yoran Zenjurje Damba Renjen Choye Macha Cha Janyam Be Jurwe Chode Nyanje Jembo Yera Joba Pandita De Sawa Chebar Seje Yahweh Mejon La do Shanjo La Rembe Jan Tar do Nam Je Ye La Pande Yahweh Zevaran do Jonjur Lam san de be tu jen do che ga jen se je me da me Sera gondo Yahweh Mabai Nam da Dewar Major Kam se te ba chola juju so jendo la zo ma de to de nam je da do do shi da shi yang zu chu gong cha zhu ro ji ba de za we la ma de bo ji da zo ni ra ba me den jo la ka den chen bo ko ne ji zon de ko zon do je mo do za do so chang jo sem jo ren bo je ma je pa na je ju ra je ye wa nyam ba me bar yang kon ne kon do pe war jo Kare rave kurve shinkam de pendan de wa malu chungve ne chenre zewa tenzen gyatso ye shabe sente wardo tenjuro je jamba pawo jitar chenpa dan kundu sambo deyan dejen Veda kunje jizo da lo jer Yewa de da tam je rabdo mo De zon shabi yawo tam je jen Ngo wa gang la chodo ma pa de 다신 기회 자와 대권장 상보 주제라도 모와라지 현재 존에 템바 달샹지 땡진 제wo 탐제 고감사 대전 본라 대제 종외네 상계 템바 다도 제주로지 제라 군도 야와 종가베 대조 신년 모소 자베도 야외 마베 감산 대니에 이제 상양도 마주로지